Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay chapter. Today is July 30th, 2026. Today we have the pleasure of having Shanna Fillmore here. She's going to be talking to us about beyond writing requirements, the real value of business analysis. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of this chapter. My main job as the president is to be here for you. If you have questions, if you want more information, if you have a problem, reach out to me on LinkedIn is the fastest way to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. For those of you who are new to the IIBA, let me tell you a little bit about what we do here. The organization is the International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA. We are the global standard-setting body for business analysis, supporting a community of over 30,000 professionals across 120 chapters worldwide. We have certifications. Oh, do we have certifications? We have three that are based upon our book that says how to do business analysis for beginners having no experience, people with 3 to 5 years of experience, and then 5 years or more. The CBAP is our highest certification. We also have 4 other certifications on things like Agile and data and cybersecurity. And there's one more I don't remember right now. But if you're interested in getting certified by the global professional organization, we might have what you need. What are the benefits of joining our organization, the IIBA? You get access to training provided by chapters around the world. Imagine being able to go to training from someone in Belarus, and then you go to Baltimore, and then you go to Boston, and you're getting ideas from literally all over the world. You get complimentary access to over 25,000 outstanding books, videos, webinars, and additional resources, and you get discounts on certification exams. The discount for the CBAP is equal to the amount of your membership, so it's a pretty sweet deal. IIBA chapters are in major cities around the world. If there is not an active chapter near you, we can talk about you starting a chapter, or you're welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter are not restricted to residents of Florida. In fact, we have participants from literally all around the globe. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, Tampa Bay can be your chapter. Our vision here at Tampa Bay IIBA is building a thriving community of empowered business analysts. So why would you choose to join the Tampa Bay chapter? We offer multiple training sessions each week, including CBAP prep and coaching, and an acclaimed SDLC workshop, among others. You can view our upcoming events at our website at tampabay.iiba.org, or you can look at them on LinkedIn. We've got 2 LinkedIn groups and a Facebook group. At the end of 2025, we had presented well over 300 events here through our master classes, our CBAP classes, and organizations around the world. Many of those are available on YouTube, but that's a lot. So to get an index of those recordings, go here to rpchurchill.com, Bob's Amazing Index. Thanks to Bob Churchill, he has organized all those recordings into date, subject, and speaker. As a result of all of this effort, we put on training and mentoring hundreds of individuals. The Tampa Bay chapter was awarded the Global IIBA Award for Professional Development Excellence, and this is our esteemed board. I'm very proud of the efforts of each one. You can see we have at least one opening here. We have a few more that are not on the board. If you're interested, reach out to me. We also have 2 CBAP test prep courses going on. It's really too late to join these unless you are in your very last part before your certification. But if you're interested, reach out to me.
In my life for a reason, or the covenant.
Let's go on mute if we're not speaking, please. Thank you. One results of all this training is that since 2021, these students have reached out to me to say, because your chapter, y'all's efforts, I was able to receive my certification. So we're pretty excited about this list. We're looking to add a few more people, and that's because we're helping people earn their certification. The chapter's also done something else interesting. We sponsored a book. No other IIBA chapter has done that, but we sponsored this book. And if you grab the book and turn it over, oh, look, I've got one right here. It says sponsored by the Tampa Bay IIBA. It's pretty cool. But this book is about what is it like to be a business analyst in an industry. Um, there's all kinds of industries. There's 12 in this one and 12 in this one. I want to take a moment to appreciate all of our partners, but our number one partner group is you, our participants, and our members. We partnered with over a dozen other IIBA chapters worldwide, and we're mentoring these 4 chapters that are just forming, going to become business analyst IIBA chapters. We partnered with the Doback Group out of the UK and these organizations in the Tampa area. And we've partnered with these education providers and these recruiting companies. We've also partnered with Purdue University. They have a virtual AI master's program that they needed some people with real world experience, and we have real world experience. So we were able to provide 8 speakers for them and I think about 20 mentors for their students so that they could say, what is it really like in this industry? Here I am wanting to do this AI program. What would I run into? One of the side benefits of having all these partnerships is that you get discounts. Watermark Learning has offered us a discount code for you, our participants, at 40% off with using the code Tampa21. Adaptive US has also given us a discount of 20% off using the ITBF20 code. So I have some things coming up that are pretty exciting, so grab your calendars. This is an unusual class for us. It's going to be at lunchtime next Thursday. Russell Mears is on the International Institute of Business Analysis Board of Directors, Global Board of Directors. He gave this talk at the recent BBC conference, and it was so well received. I reached out to him and I said, bring it to us. So he's going to talk about the theater and illusion of control when dashboards lie. The week after that, we kick off something very, very special. This is our first prerequisite required meeting for the workshop. This workshop is going to be an SDLC simulation workshop, and I'll tell you just a little bit more about that in just a moment. The week after that, we have a panel of recruiters that are going to come together to ask them questions about what skills do we need to learn to be marketable in 6 months? What mistakes do they see us making? What things set us aside from the crowd? The week after that, we're going to go back and have our second prerequisite meeting. And the first one was PM, BA, and PO. This one is going to be UI, UX, QA, and Dev. So you're going to learn basics of what those roles are and what your role would be in the workshop. And then that Saturday, on August 22nd, we're going to start our workshop. This is a 3-hour a session workshop. And so the first meeting, we're going to have planning and project initiation. The second meeting on September 5th, we're going to have requirements analysis. The third one, we're going to do solution design. The fourth one is going to be development and testing. And you notice there's a 2-week block here. Then implementation and review on November 7th, we will have our final executive demo. Each team is going to talk about these are the deliverables I created, and this is what we came out with, and show the software you actually created. And then we'll be giving out awards to each participant, each mentor, each person who contributed to the organization. That's a lot, but we hope that you'll choose to be involved. To keep up with our events, you can subscribe to our events on our website, tampabay.iiba.org, select events, and subscribe to notifications. Again, we also have them on our LinkedIn group. If you join the group, you'll automatically see our events. Then you can check out our YouTube channel with over 200 videos and past trainings. And then rpchurchill.com is where links to all of this is. I really encourage you to go see it. And now to our presentation. I'll turn it over to you, Shanna.
All right, thanks, Thea. Let me get my slides up and Does it look right, Thea?
We can see it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So thank you for having me. Um, I'm happy and nervous to be here all at the same time. So today I'll be going over beyond writing requirements. So talking about the real value of business analysis. I'm just looking around. I don't think I can see a clock anywhere around me. So just let me know in the chat or something if I'm off. But
Well,
I don't think I'll be going long. So just a little bit about me. So my background, I've had the business analyst official title for 15 years. If I count everything, then I've been in the IT area for 26 years. I would call my previous life systems analyst type roles. So system analyst and business analyst. And my expertise would be in SAP reporting and data warehousing. Most recently, I was in tax compliance. And I like to turn complex business needs and messy data and stuff into clear solutions. I also, is there a question?
I
I
don't
also,
see one.
oh, go ahead. No?
No.
All right. So I wrote my first ebook this year, and I've been volunteering for with the Houston Business Analyst Group for about a year now. And the other thing I do is small space gardening, and I think I've been doing that for about 5 years. So that's just a little bit about me. And maybe just from the pictures, you can get an idea that I like Canva and I'm a visual person. So today's agenda is first start about rethinking the BA role and just talk about common misconceptions about the role. And then go into what is the real value of our role. And then we'll connect that a little bit to the BABOK. And then we'll talk about how do we actually communicate our value? How do we actually articulate our impact? And then the last thing is about shifting from tasks to outcomes and becoming a strategic business analyst. So first, rethinking the BA role. So to start us off, I'm curious, what is the biggest misconception that you hear about BAs? What do people usually think that we do? For me, I always think people think, oh, we're doing documentation. Oh, we're taking notes. We're just writing down what everyone says. So I have a few things here, like, you just write it down. Analysis is treated as like I'm just transcribing the decisions that were already made somewhere else. Or you're the requirements gate. The BA just becomes that handoff checkpoint to clear rather than actually a thinking partner to bring it early or see the project all the way through. And also sign off means you're done. Same kind of thing where, they think, oh, okay, requirements are signed off, you're done. You don't have anything else to do anymore on the project. Those are the things that come to my mind. And I'm just wondering, can you think of any others? Are there any others that come to your mind? You could put in the chat if you could think of anything else.
I had one person tell me that we were responsible for making meetings for them.
Okay, I can see that.
I had an experience where they thought the BAs were the ones that did the acceptance testing, the user acceptance testing.
Yeah, I guess that one's debatable too because every organization does it differently, but yeah.
Mhm.
Chris says glorified project manager, product owner, UAT.
Do it all.
Of course.
Yeah.
Another vote for testers and meeting creators.
Yeah. That meeting creator.
Glorified secretary.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the word, but yeah. That's what I'm getting
Ooh.
to. Yeah.
Ruth says mind readers. but that part's true.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. I guess there's two ways to look at it. One is like you don't do much, and the other side of it is like you do everything. So, all right, so let's move on then. So, so these are just some examples of you can do some work and then you can talk about it in different ways. So you could say, I took the notes, or you could say something like, I discovered the decision nobody had actually made yet. You could say, I gathered the requirements, or you could say something like, I framed the problem that was worth solving. And a couple more. So I update the backlog, or you could say something like, I protected the scope from 6 weeks of silent drift. And you could say, I ran the workshop. Or you could say something like, I turned a 2-month standoff into an actual decision. So this is just an example of we can frame the way our work in different ways, right? We can present what we do different ways. So just to give you a little bit how I got to this point where I'm on this topic right now. So when I started looking for my next BA opportunity, of course I had to update my resume. And so when I started looking at my resume and what to put on it, I started with, okay, I know the things that I do. So I know I create, requirements documents. I create functional specs. I make, test plans, test scenarios, diagrams, things like that. But okay, that's what I do, but why is it important? Like, who cares? Why does it matter, right? So that's when I started to look deeper into, what is my actual value as a BA? Why does it matter what I do? So that's how I came to this topic. And that's my experiences is going into what's coming next, I guess. So just want to take a quick reflection, and if you could think about what is your true value as a BA, and just take like 30 seconds, just write one sentence down, what comes to your mind if I ask you, what is your true value as a BA? So if you could just write one sentence down, whatever comes to your head, and then we will actually revisit this at the end of the discussion.
I'm excited to see what y'all put in the chat.
You don't have to share, but I think it's a good question because I guess it's something actually that I noticed a lot since being on LinkedIn. Everyone has a different version of, who they are as a BA. And it's really interesting to hear it, to see it, because I'm like, oh, I want to take a piece from that. I want to take a piece from them. I like how they said it. And so it's all these different pieces. It's a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, how do you summarize it? I think is interesting. Okay. Just checking, is there anything in the... Okay. Going on then. So we talked about common misconceptions. Now let's talk about the real value of a business analyst. So there's a difference between deliverables and impact. So deliverables are the things that get seen. So things like your documents, requirements documents, specifications, test cases, process maps, any other diagrams. But impact is different. Those deliverables aren't your impact. Your impact is about what drives success. So it could be things like, clarifying something before it becomes really costly to the business, or aligning stakeholders, conflicting stakeholders, or even identifying risk early. So there's a difference between the two. The interesting thing is what's visible is usually just the deliverables. And so it goes back to the iceberg analogy, where what you see on top is really just those deliverables. But underneath the water, there's a whole lot going on that BAs are doing. There's a whole lot of impact that we're creating that it's hard to see. So your value as a BA is not limited to what you produce or the tasks that you do. It's defined by the outcomes that you help shape. So when your impact is invisible, your value is underestimated, your confidence decreases, and your career growth becomes harder to navigate. But when you're able to see the impact you bring and communicate that, then your contributions are understood in business terms, your influence increases, and your work feels purposeful and intentional. So business analysts create value through more than what they deliver. So this goes back to my story when I was working on my resume and I was thinking, okay, I make these functional specs, but why? What is the point? What is it? Why does it matter? I ran these meetings and I took these notes, and I logged up the decisions. Okay, but why does it matter? And when I was looking into that, I kept coming back to these four main areas. And these were the areas where I felt that I was making an impact. So the four areas were framing the right problems, aligning people and decisions, creating shared clarity, and protecting business outcomes. So from those four areas, I get to what I call the BA impact framework. And I turn these four into pillars. So this is my BA impact framework. And just to go in a little more detail here, when I talk about framing the right problem, this is when you're ensuring the team solves the correct business problem, not just the initial request, right? Because they say, I want this, but then you have to step back and dig more into it and question it and find out, is it the right problem? And aligning people and decisions. This one is about building a shared commitment by facilitating the alignment and informed decision-making also. And then the third one is create shared clarity. So this is where we turn ambiguity into shared understanding across business and technology. And the last one, protect the outcome, is about safeguarding the value through impact awareness and early risk identification, validation, and also solution evaluation. So this is the BA impact framework, and I'll just go through a little bit more for each one. So just a minute. So back to framing the right problem. So before solving anything, we want to make sure we're solving the right thing. So as business analysts, we can create value by challenging the assumptions, separating problems from solutions. We want to make sure that we're focusing on the problem before we start focusing on solution, and clarifying the desired outcomes, and especially identifying the root causes to make sure we're not trying to fix symptoms, but actually root causes. And our impact could look something like we're making better decisions, better solutions, less wasted effort, for example. And the second pillar, align people and decisions. So good solutions require a shared commitment. We have to be on the same page and just really committed. BAs can create value here by bringing the right people together. So you want to make sure you have the right people that you need in the project. And then making those decisions visible. So for me, this was always, documenting them and make sure they're in the right place so everyone can see them and in a timely manner. Also, it's clarifying the roles and ownership, making sure that we know who's responsible for what, and then also facilitating difficult conversations. So our impact could look something like less confusion, faster decisions, and stronger alignment. So the third pillar was create shared clarity. So this is where understanding is more than documentation. So I don't know if you've heard this, but you could have a document, but you could have 5 people interpret it totally different. So it's not just about documenting, but making sure everyone actually understands, what's going on, why is it happening. So having that understanding is more important than just having a document. So as BAs, we can create value here by providing the context and connecting the details to the business goal. So everyone's on board with, why is it important? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this? And identifying dependencies and confirming that shared understanding. So some ways we can make an impact here. Our impact could look like having fewer misunderstandings, less rework, and faster development because the team's not stopping all the time to clarify because they don't know what the exact details are for something. And the last one is protect the outcome. So delivery is not complete unless the solution creates value. So you can't just deliver anything and say, okay, check, I'm done, it's delivered, because if it's not actually doing what it's supposed to, if it's not actually creating value, then it's not really doing much. It's not really that important. I mean, it needs to create value for the business. So BAs can create value here by identifying risk early. The earlier you see something that's going to go wrong, the sooner you can get on track to prevent it or fix it to make sure it's going to work. And validating solutions to make sure they're doing what they're intended to do and giving the value that they're supposed to. Testing our assumptions and edge cases to make sure we're testing, all the different possibilities and haven't missed things. And understanding the impacts of change. So if I make this change, what all is impacted? So you can be proactive in these things. The impact that we might see here could be something like higher quality, reduced risk, and better business outcomes. All right. So I just like to take a minute to touch on something because I went through 4 pillars, but in reality, every BA role looks different. Business analysis varies from company to company. So what my role is like is different than yours and different than another person. And especially for a new person coming into business analysis, I don't want them to think that, oh, they're supposed to do everything and they have to know everything. So some BAs might be involved more on the early side and they shape problems early. They facilitate decisions, influence strategy. And some BAs may be more focused on requirements, documentation, delivery support, and in some cases, testing. So both create value. And the goal here is not that you have to do everything, but to understand what you do so that you can understand where you can create your impact. Okay, I can stop talking so much. I have a question for you. So considering all our roles are different, I'm curious, what do you think? Which pillar do you think you use the most? Just drop the number in the chat. You can see them numbered 1 through 4. In case there's something where you feel like, oh, well, there's 2 that you use the most, maybe just pick your favorite one. But honestly, for me, I think I would pick number 3. I feel like a lot of my work is about, digging into data and finding the clarity out of it.
I think number 2 and number 3 say very, very similar things.
2 and 3. There's a slight difference. I can I don't think I have the detail in front of me. Okay, hold on. Let me find it. There is more detail. Can you believe? But I didn't put in this presentation. So 2 is, so it's more about stakeholder awareness, decision transparency, and fancy words, expectation calibration. So clarifying like, how decisions are made and by whom, for example, expectations about responsibilities, timelines, deliverables, that kind of thing. And stakeholder awareness is about, roles, power, influence, that sort of thing. Yeah, whereas the clarity part is more probably what you think about when you're just really trying to understand, what's going on, the context, the dependencies. I hope that helps.
Does. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So my window is just so small over here, but I see 3, I see 1, 4, 3, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, and 4, 3, 3, 1. So it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people maybe have a similar experience to me. I see a lot of 3s. I don't see that many 1s. So my next question is gonna be the opposite. Which pillar do you use least? And so this is where I will tell you the truth. My role were in my company, I was not involved in the early stages before the project. So I didn't do much of the number 1, frame the right problem, because I wasn't involved that early. And so it's interesting to me for the other answers, a lot of people didn't say 1. So I'm not the only one that didn't do a lot of that, I guess. Okay, I see a lot of 1s. See a 4, okay. 1, 2s. That's interesting because I guess since being on LinkedIn, I had this kind of feeling like I was one of the only ones that didn't do framing the right problem. So, okay, I'm not alone. That's good. Good to know.
I've been in many projects that they hand it to you and they say, go do this thing. And you do have to do what problem are we solving? But you're not
Yeah.
the one framing it. They've already framed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I feel like I do it on a mini scale. So like in whatever problem I'm trying to solve at, the problem within the project, right? Why is the data
Mhm.
wrong in the report or whatever? I'm doing my own sort of like from an investigation perspective, like what's the problem? But it's not quite the same thing. But all right.
I'm in a position of a solution architect, which is working with the salespeople, framing the problem. So
Mm,
it's very much the overarching, how does our service, how does our solution help solve the customer's problem if we can't figure out what the customer's problem and need really is? So I spend a lot of time framing the right problem
yeah. Yeah. You spend a lot of time in that area.
out of the consulting area. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's good for everyone to know coming into the role that, you're not expected to know everything, or at least not right away. Or the point is a BA role can vary, right? So you may not be doing everything equally.
Mhm.
All right, so now let's see if we can connect this to the BABOK. And if someone doesn't know, this is the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge from IIBA. So for all the BABOK experts out there, if I say anything a little bit off, just, give me some grace.
Sure.
So, okay, so the BABOK will give us our knowledge areas. It gives us tasks and techniques and competencies that define professional business analysis. So it's really, telling us what we're going to do, right? Whereas the BA Impact Framework has these 4 pillars that are helping us recognize the value and the impact behind those activities. So it's nothing conflicting, nothing new. It's just a different lens to look at what you do. Okay, so this is my attempt to map to the BABOK knowledge areas. So keep in mind, one pillar might hit more than one, but I just picked the one that I thought was the most relevant. So when I think about framing the right problem, I felt that was related to the strategy analysis knowledge area because it's about understanding the business need and defining the right problem before we're moving towards solutions. And then when I think about aligning people and decisions, I felt that was related to elicitation and collaboration because we're engaging with stakeholders, facilitating conversations, and supporting shared decisions. When I think about create shared clarity, I feel like that related most to requirements analysis and design definition because it's about analyzing, modeling, validating, and communicating requirements and solution designs. And then the last one, protect the outcome. I feel that one related most to solution evaluation because it's about assessing solution performance and ensuring that expected value is achieved. And the BABOK also has competencies. They're actually, I didn't do it at competence level. I did it by competency category. So there's, I think it's 6 different categories. So I tried to link it up to the category. So for frame the right problem, this felt like it was related to analytical thinking and problem solving, and also business knowledge, because we're analyzing the situation, understanding the business context, identifying root causes, and defining the real business need. For aligning people and decisions, that one felt like it had to do a lot with interaction skills and communication skills, because we're facilitating conversations, building relationships, and helping stakeholders make those informed decisions. For create shared clarity, that one seemed to use a lot of communication skills and also the analytical thinking and problem solving, because we're explaining complex ideas, we're using systems and visual thinking, and verifying shared understanding. For the last one, protect the outcome, this one also I felt is related to analytical thinking and problem solving and business knowledge, because we're evaluating impacts, identifying risk, validating solutions, and connecting decisions to business value. So the BABOK is there to give us the foundation, and our impact comes from how we apply it. So the work that we do may look like requirements, workshops, diagrams, testing, but the impact is more like, we're having better decisions, we're getting shared understanding, we're reducing risk, and improving outcomes. I like to think of it as, here's what we do, but then, why does it matter? So now how do we communicate that value? Once we understand where it is, how do we communicate it? So this is taking us from task to outcomes. So if you're talking about task, then you would describe your work like, I wrote the requirements, I facilitated the workshops, I created test cases, I documented processes. But if you want to talk about what you're doing in more of an outcome language, then you could say something like, I clarified complex business needs and aligned stakeholders. Or something like, I identified risk early and prevented downstream issues. Or I validated the solution to ensure it met business objectives. So it's the same work, but it's just a different story. It's trying to turn things from task-related language to an outcome-related language. And to do this, I've been using this 3-step impact lens or 3-step process. So I start with the activity or the situation, what did I actually do? And then I ask what impact I created. And this is where I think about the 4 pillars that I mentioned. So, what did I influence or change? Was there, clarity, alignment, risk, decisions, what was involved there? And the 3rd step is what's the outcome or business result? And this is more in business terms or what matters to the business. So could be something like faster delivery, fewer defects, reduced risk, better outcomes. A lot of the times it's about, reduce, cost or improving some process, something that has to do with money a lot, but not always. So I have one example. So my activity was I write requirements and run workshops. And then my impact could be something like I help teams translate complex business needs into clear aligned requirements. And then if I think what might be the outcome or the business result, it could be decisions are made faster and solutions are delivered with fewer surprises and maybe on time even. I could add that part. So when I put it together, I could say something like, I discovered requirements and ran workshops so that complex business needs were translated into clear aligned requirements, which allow decisions to be made faster and solutions delivered, I would say on time, with fewer surprises. Now, that's probably a long sentence and you could probably shorten it, but I hope you get the idea. You could try to make it fit in this. You don't have to use this wording, but I thought it was interesting where if you do I and then your activity, so that, and then your impact you created, which, and then the business result. So I feel like it's like, when I say that, I feel like I'm talking about a user story, but having like a template, how to word something is always nice, I think. So guess what the next step will be. So if you could just take 1 minute to reflect and just think of one activity. Pick one activity that you regularly do as a VA and try to do the 3 steps. So first, what did you do, the activity? Next is the impact. So what did I influence or change? And for me, I think of this in the pillars. So it's protecting the outcome, clarifying and alignment, and the problem, framing the problem, the right problem. And then the 3rd step is outcome. So what business result did it support? And the idea is to move beyond thinking about just what you delivered, but actually describe why it mattered. And I'm actually going to go back 1 screen because I think it might be helpful to see this. So if you just take 30 seconds maybe to try to write one down. And if you can't, that's okay. You could, go and try it tomorrow. That's fine. But just give it a shot. How am I doing with time? What time is it?
You have 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll be good, I think.
Shanna, you're talking about things that VAs have struggled with for decades. How do we present what we do in a way so that people understand the value? So thank you for framing it for us. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest.
Thanks. I get, what is that called? When you second guess yourself. I forget what it's called.
Imposter syndrome?
Yeah, there you go. So when I started writing all this, I was like, oh, this is just like, everyone knows this. This is just like basic stuff. Like everyone talks about this. What am I doing? But I'm like, okay, I started this. I'm going to just go with it. So yeah, imposter syndrome.
We all have it. I don't know one person that hasn't
I,
experienced it.
so, but no, I mean, it really came into play when I had to do my resume. So I had to stop and say, okay, what's important about what I'm doing? So let's move on to the last part. So this is shifting from tasks to outcomes. So we've talked about how to identify how we create impact and how to talk about it. But now there's also another part. There's like a mindset shift where you actually have to think about your work differently. So instead of asking, what do I need to deliver? You're asking more along the lines of what value am I creating? So a strategic BA might ask things like, what business problem am I solving? What decision am I enabling? What risk am I preventing? Or what outcome am I influencing? And I have some examples. So just different ways of seeing the role, different ways you can describe your work. So on the left-hand side, it's more of a traditional or maybe a beginner BA mindset where you might say, if someone asks you, what do? You might say, my job is to document requirements, or I need to capture what was requested, or I need to deliver what was asked for. But a more strategic BA might say, my job is to help the organization make better decisions. I need to understand the problem behind the request. I need to help ensure the right solution is delivered. And then just some more examples, just describing your work, but just in a different way. So you could say, I captured notes, I scheduled meetings, I documented requirements, or I executed tests. And that's more task focused of, here's what you did. But you want to think more about, why does it matter? And that's more on the strategic BA side. So it mattered because I was framing the problem, I was aligning stakeholders, I was creating that shared understanding, and I was protecting business outcomes. Okay, so my question for you now is, has your perspective changed? So at the beginning, I asked you, what do you think your value is as a BA? So at this time, if you want to go back and look what you wrote down, and you don't have to say anything, but just reflect, do you think it's anything different now than when you started? So just take 30 seconds, I guess, just to reflect on that. Think about the problems you help solve, the alignment you create, clarity you bring, and the outcomes you protect. Okay, I'm going to move on. So this is, I think, my last slide. So I want to leave you with this. Your impact is already there. You don't need a new title to be a strategic BA, to create strategic value. So as BAs, every day we just keep framing the right problems, aligning people and decisions, creating the shared clarity, and protecting our outcomes. So your impact is already there. Your next step is just making it visible. And that's all. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shanna.
Thank
How
you.
many of, I'd like to see hands. How many of y'all have found it challenging to describe what you do in a way that sounds like you're not just doing tasks, that you're bringing value and in a way that makes them interested in what, maybe talking to you? Yeah, I see one hand, two, three. Awesome. Awesome. So what Shanna's brought to us is a very effective way to present what we do. It's like I'm a doer. I love to do. Give me a job, I'm going to do. Give me a problem, I'm going to do. But if they don't see the value that doing brings, you're always going to stay a doer. And so you got to move it up. So Shanna, thank you so much for bringing this to us.
Thank you for asking me or pushing me or volunteering me out of my comfort zone.
So,
Thank you,
so
Thea.
let
I
let
didn't back
me let
down.
me tell you a little bit about Shanna. I met Shanna through LinkedIn. She posted something probably a year ago. And I've been watching her because she's consistently posting, and what she posts is exceptional. It really is exceptional. What she posts shows a great deal of insight about the BA role, our responsibilities, our impacts, and then she puts cute graphics with it. So it's nice to watch what she does. I encourage you to follow her. If you know somebody who wants a good BA in their organization, tell them about Shanna. Shanna's been looking for a little while, and the job market is not fair. There's nothing fair about it. So, you know, check out Shanna, follow her, share some of her stuff, look at some of her back stuff. I mean, don't just look at what she posts today. She has been posting very consistently. So she deserves the props on that.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Shanna or any comments? Have you struggled showing your value, especially on a resume and an application? Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, me or
everybody, everybody,
I have, yeah.
all of us have. And
And
it's nice. Go
yeah,
ahead, Shane.
it's not just a resume. I think what's more important is, if you just pass, like if you just met someone in some event, and they said, "What do you do?" And you have to have that whole elevator pitch. I mean, it ties back to that really because you want to say something that shows your value without having to like go through like, a page of a resume. But,
Mhm.
what's that one line that I can just say that really encompasses the most important parts, right? It's hard to like put everything in it. So, what's the most important part?
Right. One of our biggest challenges is if
Interdisciplinary
you say,
liaison.
that's right. One of our biggest challenges is if you say I'm a business analyst and you're not at a business analysis conference, there's a really good chance that they have no clue what that means. And they have no
Well,
frame of reference.
and I think business, if you say you're a business analyst or that you do business analysis, feels I don't want to say generic, but it encompasses a lot of stuff, right?
Hmm.
You can have 10 BAs in a room and we all do different things and we can all define it differently. So yeah, just saying you're a business analyst doesn't tell you the whole picture. It just tells a little bit, but
Right. I agree. I agree. I put something in the chat earlier that it's kind of the things that I go to whenever people are saying, so what does a BA do? Let me see if I can open up the chat. There it is. Finding the right problem, then finding the right stakeholder voices in the room, bringing clarity to the solution, and then keeping everyone on the same page while you're getting the solution developed. And it's like, that's a very linear thing, but people that don't understand business analysis, they're like, oh yeah, there is value there.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Once again, if you didn't have a chance to, if you are an IIBA member and you have a chance to nominate someone for volunteer appreciation, let them know. I think I put that in the chat at the beginning. Uh, Knighton, I need you to give me your last name so I can give you credit for attending. We can't do a Knighton R as an attendee because IBA doesn't know who that is. But we want to give everyone credit for attending this. This meeting, because of the way we structure it, you get credit, you get education credit that is applicable to your certification requirements. So if you are, if you have a certification that you need to maintain, or if you're working on a certification, we need to be able to identify who you are for that. Okay, do I have any last comments or questions before we close the meeting tonight? Okay. If y'all are interested in the SDLC conference, I highly recommend you do it. We had rave reviews last year, and we are needing some people that they don't know anything, they know some, and they know quite a bit that want to be mentors. And we have excellent people on board ready to help you, and we have excellent material, but we need hands in the team. So put those links in the chat as well. Shanna, thank
When
you one
does
more
the
time. Yes.
One question, when does the registration close on that?
The registration closes, I think it's going to be on the 20th. And the reason for that is we have our first prerequisite on the 6th and our second prerequisite on the 20th. And then the 22nd is when we actually start, and we have to send out emails of, hey, here's the role that we assigned to you. So
Okay, for some reason
honestly,
I thought it was this week, so.
well, here's the deal. Once we hit 80 participants, we've got to close it. So if it's before that, it's going to be before that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. See you next week. Next week is going to be the first prerequisite. We're going to talk about what is a project owner. I'm sorry, a product owner, a project manager, and a business analyst. Just high level, orient them, get the teams on what those roles are. Okay. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye.